Welcome to AVP. My name is Arturo.
Hey, my name is Vladimir, and this is our podcast. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, it's we took a little bit of a break. I know we're a couple days.
Not even a
late.
break. It's the same week. Relax.
Yeah.
We just had schedule difficulties and.
All right. Well, I just wanted to be courteous about it, right?
Alright, yeah, you can be courteous if you want. Like, I don't give a fuck.
All right, guys. So today, it's just gonna be me and Vlad. We wanted to have
The OG.
Yeah, the OGs. The OGs. But no, we wanted to have a rather serious conversation today. It's a topic that I think is close to the both of us for many reasons. And I think it's important that it be addressed. We're going to be talking today about the Dominican Republic. And
The motherland.
yes, quite literally, actually. Because, well, both your parents are Dominican and my mother is Dominican. So,
I'm fully Dominican.
yeah, quite literally.
You're half a traitor, but it's fine.
I'm not half a traitor.
That's fine.
Jesus Christ, that's like mad fucking harsh.
It's fine. You're half of it. It's fine.
But yeah, so what we want to talk about today, and what we're going to start off with, is the David Ortiz shooting.
Now this is interesting because like when I heard of it, like I was like, what? Like as soon as I heard about it, I was like, what? Like DR is this bad that you're shooting your own heroes right now? Like David Ortiz is a hero for Dominican Republic.
Right.
So when I heard about that, I was like, okay, that's something wrong. Something going on here, and I started looking into it. I don't know if it was like I don't know if it's still just rumors, you know, because you said they came out with different stories now. But like when I heard when it first popped off and everybody's trying to like get the story together, it was basically like David Ortiz was sleeping with a drug lord wife.
Right.
That was the story, and so the drug lord guy got any random assassin, and he was like, just go kill him, and then he got shot over that. And then there was a story also of when he was in the hospital, David Ortiz, two women were fighting over him while his wife was still en route to the hospital. Like, it was not even his wife. It was two females just fighting over David Ortiz because they were with David Ortiz.
Right.
And then his wife was not even there yet. So that was the rumors that, like, it popped off. Like, well, that's what I was listening to.
All right, so I had heard that David Ortiz was sleeping with somebody's wife, and the person whose wife that was, she was like married to some type of like drug lord or like like some gang
Same shit I
leader
heard,
or
yeah.
some shit, right? I did hear about that. Now, the new news that has developed recently, and this is what I think is probably most interesting, is that supposedly they think that's all wrong now. Now, the news is that he was not even the target. The target was someone who was sitting at that table with him at that same exact time. And the person who ordered the hit was that person's cousin. I was just watching the news on it a little bit earlier, and the names have already escaped me. But actually, I mean, if you want to look it up, you could probably find it.
Yeah, I actually read a little bit of this. Like,
Yeah,
I read the article.
So it does seem fishy to me. Now it can be one of two things, I think, right? Either the police, it seems like they have no idea what's going on, because those are two like very wild, different stories.
That's
You know what I'm
exactly what I was saying, because it's like, okay, this is something that like they maybe don't know what the hell actually happened, and they're trying to make sense out of it.
Right.
Because I'm Dominican. I grew up in Dominican Republic for 11 years. Everything that I know, I'm rooted there. Like that's my home country. So I know how it runs over there. My dad was he did a lot of things like in the government and stuff. So it's like I know how shit runs. So it's like, well, not necessarily like 100%. Like that's like a too broad a statement. Like I know how shit. I know like some of it.
Right.
So I know that every single like the 10 million Dominicans that is in that island know who the fuck David Ortiz is. Even little kids being born right now.
Right.
Okay? So for mistaken identity, first of all, David Ortiz, you can pick him out of the fucking crowd. All right, the guy's kind of not good looking. It's like, you know, it's kind of obvious who he is, and his physicality. He's tall as fuck. You cannot confuse him with somebody that's not Dominican, which is like the guy that was in the table. He was in. I believe they're from Mexico. I think the drug lord and the cousin. So the story, like they're cousins.
Yeah. So in all honesty, as far as this goes, I actually don't know too much about it. I know what I've seen on the news sparingly for the little bit that I've read. And this is, I mean, I want to get into this a little bit like after, but I do want to like kind of focus on David Ortiz a little bit right now because, you know, he's such a big part of like Dominican pride.
Yeah.
Right? You know, especially right now. So
I mean, I hated him my entire life because I'm a Yankees fan and he's from Red Sox Boston. And like, you know.
Oh yeah, they flew him out to
he's in Boston,
Massachusetts.
Yeah, he's in Boston. So I hated him my entire life. But when I found out about this, I was like, oh fuck, hold on, like that shit is fucked up. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Well, you know, the thing that, and I think you're right, especially when it comes to the whole identity thing. He's supposed to be one of the most recognizable Dominicans that are.
And the assassin was Dominican, so it's like, how the fuck can you not know who David Ortiz is?
Well, let me ask you this question.
Oh shit.
And I don't know too much about I don't know the history of these people. I don't know if they're like experienced assassins. I don't know if they're
not. You give them $100 to any guy over there in DR right now, they will kill anybody that you point out. You know, like it's in Dominican Republic. It's getting to a situation that it's not Venezuela yet, but it's getting there.
All right. So wait, let's hold off on that because I actually want to talk about that specifically.
Okay.
In a second.
Okay.
But I really want to touch on what you said. So, could it be possible that this guy probably just got scared and when he shot the gun, he wasn't aiming, he wasn't really paying attention, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for this guy. This guy is like tried to kill someone. He's a fucking dick. He should be punished to the full extent of the law.
Also, one thing that messed me up about that, I saw videos everywhere. It was people just kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah,
and
I saw that. They fucked him up so bad.
I don't agree with that, bro. Like, it's like, take him to jail and just
have his day in court.
just have him rot in jail for his entire life for the stupid mistake that he did for a couple dollars. That's fine. You know, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that punishment. But don't humiliate and completely beat up a guy in the middle of free, just yelling at him on my web, like just discussing. You know, like it was like, come on, guys, let's have some grace. You know, David Ortiz is alive, thanks. You know, like to the chances. Let's just not beat the shit out of this guy, videotape it and put it everywhere. It's not a good view for the country.
I agree.
And two, it's very inhumane. Like what he did was the worst thing that you can do in the world, and that's take somebody else's life. I agree with that.
Did he actually end up killing somebody or no?
I'm not sure about that.
So the last that I heard, David Ortiz got shot. He's in good condition now.
But he was in pretty bad condition before.
He was, yeah. I heard that he was in bad condition before, and then I heard that there was some guy who was injured, but he's not. I don't think he's dead.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know like 1,000% of the story. You know, like it's like I know a lot of pieces. But the piece about that again, it's like, yeah, he did the worst thing that you can do, and that is to try to kill somebody. Like that's a scum, you know, for money. That's a scum. But don't do that. You know, like it's like just take him to fucking jail and let him rot in there. You know, like and do that and you know, proving obviously he's guilty because like they just caught him with the gun and everything, but like, just fucking throw him in there.
Right.
Don't fucking humiliate.
Okay, so that actually, I wanna. This is actually what I wanted to talk about. Like this is why I wanted to start with David Ortiz because I felt like he was a good introduction. But you pretty much like jumped into my topic without you even knowing what my topic was going to be. So, kudos to you. All right. So, why do you think that the Dominican Republic is in such a situation right now where if you could go to someone and you can just give them any amount of money, that they would go
System.
and do something like this.
It's all down to the system. Listen, every single government at the end of the day tries to steal money. That's known. Even here in the United States.
Well, here in the United States, I would say that's especially the case.
Yeah. So every government tries their best to steal money. Now, what good governments do, or right governments, is that they steal money, but they leave enough to this freaking country that you can have it sustained. What is going on in the Dominican Republic is these guys that are in power are stealing all the money and not giving shit to the public, not giving anything back to the public. So it's like you're putting people in a desperate, you're cornering them in their livelihood of like, I can't eat, I can't pay my fucking rent, I can't do nothing right now, and the Dominican Republic is suffering from an intellectual, it's like a lot of kids just drop out because if you're Dominican, you know what a concho is. Like they just start. It's like a cab driver, but it's like a very pirate cab driver. So you got people dropping out of school, and because they can't even think about paying because college in DR is just disgusting of how much money it is. So they don't want to go through that. So they drop out in mid-high school, maybe mid-middle school, and they just, I know how to drive, I'm going to do this now. So you have very, very, you're limitizing the intelligence of the public. You're making them very ignorant about everything. All they got to do now, all they live for is they gotta make enough money to make rent, and then they have enough money to buy some food and buy beer. That's the nightlife in DR, because it's just hot. It's like it's getting to like a horrific, it's like we have nothing else to do. We don't have money. We don't have, so the only thing that we're gonna waste the money on now is beers, and try to live off of that and try to have the littlest fun as we can. So it's like you're fucking up all these poor people. Like you're making the poor even more poor, and it's getting to the point that if you give $10 to somebody and say, yo, can you kill this guy for me? Because I don't like him. They'll be like, you said $10? Yeah, okay. And they go and do it. So it's like you're backing the people. So listen, if you back up a dog to the corner, right? And you take away his food and you take away everything, and you're backing him off to the corner, he's gonna bite the shit out of your hand. I don't care who you are. It's animal instincts.
Right.
So that's when it comes to humanity, to survival. That's what one of my biggest fear is. Like in the future, I know there's gonna be such a thing as called as water wars. It's gonna create. Let's just hold on, because
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. The studio is in my old parents' house, so it's there's people walking in and out.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, it's like if you put a human in a desperate enough situation, they will go down to the roots of being animals and just fuck anything up to get food, water, anything. It's in the future. It's something that's gonna. I'm scared for shit. Let me shut up that, because it's like I have clean water right now, but I know in the future. I mean that you're already seeing that in India right now. Have you heard about that in India?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
the
literally
6th largest town in the line of water. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're doing protests and
wait, hold on. Before
a little calmer right now, but
yeah,
watching.
Well, let's
stay in the middle.
Just because we were getting a little non sequitur. So you mentioned something that actually I think is a really, really big problem. Even here in the United States, I think it's becoming a big problem. But when you talk about the third world, and unfortunately the DR is the third world.
Yeah, I mean it's not as Haiti, but yeah.
No, it's not. But regardless of that, it's still really, really terrible that that's the case, because so DR is known for two things, I would say, right? The athletic talent that they produce and the beaches.
Well, tourism, yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's what people know for. They want to go to the beaches, and then they know all the amazing baseball players that the Dominican Republic has developed.
Mm.
Now,
a lot of volleyball.
But again, athletics, right?
Mm.
Dominicans are known for producing athletic legends, right? And for their beaches, legendary beaches.
Mm.
Now, why is that? And I think that ultimately it comes down to, and you touched on it a little bit, and I was hoping you were going to like elaborate a little bit more, but you went another direction. I think it really comes down to the poverty and the education of the masses.
Yeah.
Right? So when people are poor, right? This is typically the case almost across the world. But when people are poor, they're not receiving the best education. And the people that do make it out of that situation are
Athletic.
drops in the ocean, right? They're random. It's people who, I mean,
they're not giving chances.
Right, they're not. So they make it out of there. They make it out of there because of luck, because of the circumstantial situations that were placed before them, and they were able to make the best out of that particular situation.
They make it out also, like my situation. My father came here 40 something years ago.
Right.
42 years ago. He built something here to then go to DR and buy lands and buy things that we survived there for 11 years. Right. But then it got to like, again, the government decided to steal more than what they had to. So then we had to be like, okay, we have now the option to sell off the things that we have and just go back to the US. And then that's what we did. So that's basically a lot of Dominicans also. It's getting out of Dominican Republic and coming here.
So this is what I mean though. Your dad and like most immigrants that do migrate to the US, if they were able to make that trip, right, it's because they had, in some sense, some type of financial stability to be able to move back and forth like that.
Yeah, 1980s and 90s.
The vast majority of the country, though, cannot do that. Like, to even think of buying one plane ticket to come to the United States, that's like a life savings for some people. And it's like you said, like, to think that far ahead, like, what they are focused on in that moment is, hey man, how am I going to eat tonight?
Yeah.
Right? How am I going to feed my family? And if they're not thinking about that, then, people need an escape from their problems. And what do? It's like you said, so I'm gonna go and buy beer. I'm gonna go and waste, my whole money, I'm gonna have enough so I can eat, and then I'm gonna go get drunk because my life fucking sucks. I'm poor as fuck. I don't know shit. And then it's like, this is, so what I wanted to get to was that when you put people in these situations where they are uneducated, where they are hungry, where they are poor, they can't find a good job that will pay them real money, something that can actually allow them to live, right? You get these really, really desperate situations. And that's what you were talking about, which was, you can go up to someone now and essentially exploit their morality.
Because they're hungry.
Because they're hungry and they're suffering. So if they gotta go and do something terrible, then so be it. Because you know what? Maybe if I go do this horrible thing, possibly like I'll go and like I'll be able to eat for however long. Now, I'm sure that there's some people like in every place that are just bad people.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think that is the vast majority.
No, because in desperate situations...
I don't think that's the vast majority of people anywhere.
Yeah, because in desperate situations, you turn good people to bad people. Because they have to survive. You turn people into their animalistic instincts of, I need to survive. Like right now, I mean, we're not as a bad state as Venezuela, but Venezuela is like any good person that is now not necessarily like a bad person, but they are in a source because they're doing things to survive. Like, shit, I need water, I need food. I have to do this to survive.
Right.
So you're turning good people to bad people because you're selfish and you're stealing all their money, basically. Which is going on for decades in DR, but now it's like in such a level that it's like, okay guys, now it's too obvious. Like before, only like maybe the people that were inside and came out knew that there was some stealing going on. But now every fucking body knows that you're fucking stealing money. It's to a point like, let's just come. Now it's to a point that they're so desperate that they're trying to now a guy who used to be the grandson of a guy who committed genocide in the Dominican Republic is running for presidency in Dominican Republic, which is Trujillo. His grandson now is running for president. That's how much of a desperate mode DR is. Like now it's like, yo, let's look at anybody now. Like I mean, so granted, this guy is not maybe his grandfather, and he didn't grow up maybe to be him. But it is that history is like you can't allow this person.
How much do you know about Trujillo's grandson? Like, do you?
So I actually was in a fundraiser for him.
You were at a fundraiser for him?
Yeah. So I actually met the guy, and everything. But like, would I let him? I'm sorry. Would I vote for him in going to the Dominican president? Hell no.
What are some of his positions?
Okay, so right now he's just running on the desperation of Dominican Republic, and it's like, hey guys, those people are stealing money. I'm gonna go there and not steal money, and I'm gonna go there and help the Dominican people, the women and everything to help them. There's something about me as a human that can read through people very easily. And everybody has this, but like I have it in a way like, to be like a filmmaker, you have to take these acting classes to just read people to be able to help them progress as actors. So then you read very well, and then I took psychology classes and shit. So it was like I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this guy is not. It's not him running. It's not him. It's the board of people that were behind him, and he is just the image.
Right.
Because for desperate people like Trujillo, in a lot of positive ways, in some positive ways, was very given to the Dominican people. Like if you were hungry and you didn't have no land, he would give you lands, and he would put you.
Who would he give that land to? Because the stuff that I know about Trujillo is not so.
Okay.
Nice.
So, yeah, you only know the things that are publicized and shit, like committing genocide and killing.
Well, I mean, the
like
dude
almost
killed
40,000 Haitians. So
yeah, I mean, like that's like
yeah.
I mean,
but
he also killed his own people. Like he killed Dominicans too.
Also because any dictator has to do that
to
survive. But I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the small little positive things that he did, right? That were to Dominicans who were hungry at the time was amazing, So that
for those Dominicans,
right? So for those Dominicans, right? Now you're at this time, and you saw what his grandfather did for you, right? And you saw what it was given. So in a way, for I'm sorry to say it, but for some ignorant people, that would be like, okay, he did this good, so like this guy comes from him.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, so now we have to maybe vote for him, and maybe we can get out of this hunger.
Right.
So I understand that. I understand that side of it. But that's why he is the image in the party. It's like that is the image. Remember the small positives that Trujillo had, his grandfather? He has these, but the negatives he doesn't. Like the negatives he doesn't have it. So it's like, oh, okay, I wanna.
Okay, I see exactly what you're saying.
So it's like
had me really worried for a second.
So it's like okay. So now it's like that's the image that they're running with, but I know who's really running the party.
How did you end up at a fundraiser for him?
The guy that we used to work with, the tax place.
Okay, all right, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. But I being there, right, and seeing him talk and seeing the people that were next to him talk, it was obvious that what he was saying was things to comfort people and help him get votes. But what I saw was the board full of people that are exactly in power right now. And those are the people running the government. He is just an image to get them elected for their chance for the pockets, for their chance to get the little money, There is no help in this shit in the Dominican Republic. And I'm sorry to say that, but there is no getting out of this hole.
But there has to be a way, right?
No. I'm telling you this as a person that grew up there, as my father said also, you know, like my father was like, these guys are just stealing all the money.
Yeah,
But
see,
then my dad,
refuse to believe.
listen to what my dad said though, right? He's like, these guys are just going in there and stealing everything. But if I had a chance and I get elected, being the country that it is, I do the exact same thing. It's like, it's to the point like, there is no helping it.
I completely understand the sense of, it's almost like inherent corruption that runs through the country. I completely get that. I understand the situation that these people are in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can understand how corruption, violence, theft, how all that stuff just breeds because of the condition that these people live in, right? But there has to be a way. I refuse to believe that there's no way.
There is a way.
This can be better. You know, now.
But it's not by government. It's not by electing another person. And this is my side of being a youngster. It's a revolution, bro. It's the people.
That's where I was.
It's the people. It's the people to be like, fuck this system. This is not working for us. All these parties, not working for us. You know what we gotta do? Revolt this shit. Throw that shit off. And we as a country, we choose really who could run this thing, and to not give enough power to these people, to limit them so much, and not give them a chance that they can steal money. You know, to have so much laws and implement laws and rules and regulate shit to the point that they can steal, but it's gonna be a very small amount. You know, and to put a system that if you do steal and you get caught, you're getting fucked up. You're going to jail, because the problem is these guys, right, when they get out and it's so obvious that they're stealing millions of Leone Fernandez his wife has millions of euros. How the fuck is a Dominican who we have a pesos currency have euros in the fucking bank? Millions to say so though. You know? It's to the point, it's like, it's too obvious, guys. Let's pump brakes right now. Let's not freaking, like, let's give a chance to the people.
So I mean, you were talking about revolution, right? And this is something that I think is really important to talk about, because I would say that the Dominican Republic is heading towards and is in a very extreme position right now, right?
Not yet. Not.
Well, I mean, if it says you say where you can bribe someone for $100, right? Now, I don't know how. Like, I can't speak to that because I didn't grow up there. You know, I don't know nothing about that. But if it's really that bad, then that's a pretty extreme situation to be in. And I think that really what's going to happen, you know, when it becomes. When people start to talk to each other about these things, and more people start to realize and get fed up with the corruption, I think that at the level that it is for the Dominican Republic, right? That's almost like how it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because these people, I think so. I am a person. I like to think of myself as a reformist. I don't think that revolution should even be an option on the table. You know, unless it's like the most extreme situations, right? I really believe that if you want to make a big difference, the best way to make that difference is through conversation, through debate, through the exchange of thought. I think that that's the best way to go about it.
I mean, that's a lovely idea, but it's just a scheming.
But see, this is what I'm saying. I think that in the case of the Dominican Republic, though, I don't think there is any negotiating with those people.
No, it's not. Because the thing is, like, yeah, we listen. This is how bad it is. Like, PLD is a party. You know, it's the one that is in charge right now.
Okay.
What they do, and when there's election going, and when there's like it's time for elections, they go to really poor parts of the country, right? And they give them 3,000 pesos, which in dollars is like a few $100s. So they give them 3,000 pesos. And they say, vote for us. So they're buying the votes for every poor person. And the poor person, if you give them 3,000 pesos, they're like, yeah, I'll take the 3,000 I vote for you. That's no issue. So that's what's going on right now. So to get rid of that, like to get rid of that party is hard right now because it's
so
there's no limits. That's the problem too with the Dominican Republic. Like here is 2 terms. You know, there's 8 years. That's it. You're out. Your party can have a re-election and win, but your guy is out. Over there, you can be president for like 12 to 16 years. It doesn't matter. You know, that's an issue too. I feel like if you don't have no limitation, then you're giving a chance to create a dictator, or a king or whatever it is. You know, you're giving a chance for it.
Right.
So it's like there's so many things that Dominican Republic needs to change in order for progress to show in the power of the country, in the people of the country. Because I mean, loving the culture that it was, because not what it is. Loving I've studied so much in Dominican. I've read so many books. I love the leaders that used to be there, like Juan Pablo Duarte, Pedro Mella, who fought for the country in those days to have independence and created the country in a foundation that was like the founding fathers from here. Like it's a pretty beautiful history, pretty beautiful culture that has over the decades gone completely to the ground.
So this is okay. So this ties into a bunch of stuff that I wasn't planning on talking about, but I think that it's important to talk about now.
Lily says, "Hey y'all, hey beautiful."
Hi Lily. But yeah, so this is something that I think is really important to talk about. So you talk about the history of the Dominican Republic, how colorful it is, how beautiful it is, all the things that the culture has to offer, right? How did the Dominican Republic get to a place where now it's it's unrecognizable from what it used to be?
I've been hitting the point the entire time.
No, right. No, I know we've been talking about. That was more.
Okay.
Rhetorical, right? So how did it get to this position, right? And I think that one thing that's really, really important, right? The Dominican Republic had a big scandal recently, within the last couple of years. Last year, I think it was, with Obrecht. That's the name of the company, Obrecht, whatever it is. And that, I think, is just one example, right, of this massive corporation who goes in, right, sees the Dominican Republic and all the natural wealth that this country has.
Oh,
right?
plenty.
And what they do is they go to these politicians, they buy them off, they offer them
and
so
which
much
is
money.
so easy to do.
Right.
Like, it's so easy to buy these guys
You know,
off.
they offer them more money than these guys have probably ever seen in their lives. So when they see all those zeros at the end of the check, it's like overwhelming, I think, right? And what this speaks to is a much larger problem where you have these corporations who have so much power, so much financial power, it's so heavy, right? That they can essentially come into a place like
They own the country.
right? Yeah, and they can buy it.
Yeah.
They can buy it.
I mean, dude,
And-
there's plenty
and
of like.
what that leads to, right? That corporatist, that corporatist policy, that policy of just taking everything, owning everything, right? What it ends up doing is it robs these people, the people who have been there for hundreds and thousands of years, right? Now, I mean, the thousands of years part of going back to the Taínos, which are, I would say, probably the biggest tragedy that has ever happened to the Caribbean.
I think that's
Right.
like a Mr. Columbus.
Well, oh yeah, I mean, that's all clone. That's another conversation. But, you know...
Which is so fucking funny that this country has a fucking day for that guy.
Yeah, but let's
Yeah, but like I just want to throw that fucking out there. Like, you know, like it's pretty fucking insulting to have a day for that guy.
I agree. I completely agree with that. But yeah, so you have this corporatist ideology that breeds in these third world countries. It's in DR, it's in Peru, it's in Nicaragua, it's in Haiti, it's in Venezuela, it's in all these places, right? Where you have these politicians who are bought by these companies that allow these companies to then come into these countries, steal all their resources, take everything of value, and then these people, right, of course they get desperate, because how do you live off a land that has nothing for you anymore? And they drive them into poverty, and when you're so poor, that goes back to what we were saying before, you get desperate. And the more people that start to go through that, it drives the whole community, it drives the whole population into this, it's like a vicious cycle where that's all they know, that's all they see, because they're driven into such a place of desperation that it's the only way that they can think.
And the point that you made of selling the resources, and this is where my thing about, the intellectual power of them, it's not up to par, because it's like, why are you selling off the resources to these people and not forcing it yourself to sell it off and bring that wealth back to the country? Instead, you take the $10 to $20 million that they give you for them to give them permission to take the resources. Instead of not taking that $20 million, creating those resources for you, for profit, and bringing billions of dollars back to the fucking island, so we don't have to depend on tourism.
I'll tell you why. Because the corporatist ideology is about immediate satisfaction, immediate monetary satisfaction. It's not about the long game. It's not about what's better for the people in the long run. It's about what's good for me right now, right? So you see this
which is a very ignorant thought.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
No real logical person doesn't never look to the future of next generations.
Right.
Like for me, with no power right now, with no impact, I don't have no real impact. I still think about future generations.
Of course. That I can do. And that's ultimately, I think, the type of mindset that is going to help and save people, right? When one person who's insignificant and who can otherwise do nothing on their own, right? When one person has that mindset and then they talk to somebody else, and then maybe they convince them of that mindset, that is how I think we all, as a people, right, live through this. But what ends up happening, right, is you have people, these extremely wealthy people, and all they know is wealth. They don't know anything but wealth. And because of that, right, they are insensitive. They don't see the struggles of the regular man and woman.
About it.
Yeah, so it's not something that's in their mind. It's something that, for them, that is how it should be, because we live in a hierarchy and I am the one who rules here, right? That is what it basically revolves around. It's them being able to own. It's them being able to own everything, from the banks to the institutions to the land to ultimately the lives of people, right? And these people, the corporatists, the capitalists, they take everything. And then they sell it back to the person, right? For triple the amount, 5 times the amount, 10 times the amount, right? And when you do that to a place for so long, as has happened to DR, as has happened to any third world country.
Well, the entire Latin America.
Well, yeah,
because the resources really, you know how much resource Venezuela has, petroleum wise?
Right, yeah, of course. It's a super rich country.
And what I'm gonna have to say it, but what the United States have done to fucking Latin America is fucking.
Yeah, no, I was trying to avoid that, but all right, since you fucking said
let's
it,
fucking
dive right in, bro.
So what the United fucking States have done to the Latin America is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So they have destabilized, even in the days of Trujillo, the amount of involvement that the United States had with the Dominican Republic was insane.
Dude, and so this is actually going back to the list that I was mentioning before. The U.S. has done not only to the Dominican Republic, but to Haiti, to Peru, to Bolivia, to Nicaragua, Panama. Bro,
the entire America.
The American companies have come into these places and literally taken everything. And then what they do is they send their businessmen, back to these countries, right? And they buy the politicians, or they set up these puppet governments that just do things that allow the United States to come in and take and take and take and take. One really good example of this is the Amazon rainforest. Because it is, the Amazon rainforest, quite literally speaking, is called the lungs of the earth. And these puppet governments in Latin America let the United States just come in and take down trees by the millions. By the millions. But why do they do that?
Money.
Because
right
it's
now.
good for
it's
them
the same
right now.
It's the same argument of climate change.
Exactly.
The only reason we're not doing anything about it right now is because it's beneficial money-wise for them right now, but what you're not seeing is the effect that you're gonna do in the next 30 years. It's fucking like it's very very fucking ignorant to I don't know how the fuck can you think that way, having so much like having influence to what your grandchildren would have, and mind you, they might think, oh, I'm gonna still do this because even if there's effects, my kids will be good off and my grandkids will be good off because we have money.
Right.
But what you're not seeing is that it doesn't. Holy shit, that freaked me out. But yeah, it doesn't matter what you have in your pockets in 30 to 40 years. It's gonna affect everybody.
Right.
You know, and you at the end of the day are helping the hand of extinguishing your own species. You dumb, stupid. Hold on. You dumb, stupid motherfucker. Now go on.
So this is why this happens, right? The American attitude, unfortunately, is very individualistic. The idea is that we will be okay. We can do this. And let me rephrase it. It's not we. It is I. I will be okay. I will survive this.
I got $2 billion in the bank.
Right, exactly. It's, like me and like my kids will be fine. Like, I have absolutely no responsibility to the person who is next to me right now. If they can't make it, they can't make it. That's not my problem. That is the attitude that Americans have. And
how the fuck you think these species will then move on?
Well, yeah. So
if you don't care about the person next to you.
This is my counter to that argument. Well, we live in a society, right? Together. Right? You are my neighbor. We are in this at the same time. We are working together, whether you want to believe it or not. We are working together, right, to further each other. And if you keep doing these things that are ultimately working against me, you are working against yourself.
Yeah.
What these people don't understand, and especially with climate change, right, is that there is no profit to be made on a barren planet. There is no profit to be made on a barren planet. When there are no trees and there's no more oil and the water is poisoned, right? No one's gonna be able to buy any of that stuff, and guess where all your profit goes?
To the toilet.
It means nothing at that point. Because at that point, people aren't going to care about what's in your bank account. People are going to want food on their table.
Yeah.
And this ties back to the Dominican Republic because this is exactly what's going on. It's exactly what's going on in all of Latin America. You have all these people that are being exploited. They're being ripped off. They're literally, the money is being taken from their pockets. And
for cotton.
Right, and exactly. For pressed cotton, they can't even wear it. They can't eat it. They can't do nothing with it.
How much of an obvious is that we're not evolved yet there as a species, that we give so much importance to something that we created. Like we created that to give currency and give purpose to us, but we're letting it completely destroy us at the end of the day.
You know what I think? You know what I think is the problem with humans? I think that we evolved too fast. I think that we became too aware of ourselves too quickly. We realized all the amazing things that we can do, and we were overwhelmed. and then we created these horrible systems and we worked against each other. We started giving value, like you said, to things that don't matter. We started thinking too much about arbitrary differences, like this person's darker than me and I'm lighter than this person. We started giving into arbitrary differences, like this person has this shiny rock and I don't have that shiny rock.
Well, I can agree with you to a point on that, but when you say we evolved too fast, maybe we evolved too fast and then hit a hard stop somewhere and never kept going.
But that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, exactly and never kept going, because if we kept going and evolving, like our state of mind and the way that we, look at things, then we could become something incredibly better and more into never close to the utopia, because if we are close to the utopia, then we're not really humans anymore, because humans,
right,
by nature, it's flawed. It's flawed. So it's going again, like evolving enough to be accepting. Like I had an argument last night, right, with my girlfriend. About
sorry, Lily, we didn't plan on talking about all this.
No, but this is to give her credit, which I haven't done yet. You know?
Okay. All right, I take it back.
So I had an argument, and I think I've opened more of my eyes having a conversation with you and having a conversation with your father. That before I was like, to transgenderism in the species of humans is not really natural. That's my state of mind. Because there's species like frogs.
Wait, hold up. How are we getting into this though?
What do you mean?
Because you were talking about something totally different.
Yeah, but I kind of want to go into this because of like the evolving of minds. Like,
okay, so that's where you're making the
that's why I'm making the connection.
Okay.
So because there's species that naturally can transition from female to male depending on their environment.
Right.
So in my mind, looking solely as a science, not giving a shit about I would never stop somebody from doing it. What you do in your life to make yourself happy, go for it. I would never be like, we should put laws that we can't allow people to just switch whenever they want. Don't care about that. I'm me. So if you want to be you, you be you. I don't care about that. I was looking at more of like science. Like it's like it can be natural to just like we can't naturally just go ahead and transition as a male to female. We have to have things to help us.
Okay.
But then speaking with your dad is like, it's not a necessarily a good thing to say it's unnatural, because then if I say that's unnatural, then it's saying something else that we do is unnatural as a human. It's like something normal, like another person would not agree with.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay.
That another person would not agree with. So it's like, do I want to be that person that would say something that completely hurts somebody else that is going through it, and just because I think it's not natural science-wise. But like as you were saying, scientifically wise, it's pretty natural.
Right. Well, so this is also another thing, like not even scientifically speaking, but like on that, like even around the usage of the words and like the history of them, like etymologically, linguistically, like all that stuff leads to it being a very, it's something that's been done for thousands of years. It's like maybe not like the transition part, at that part. So I'm not the best person to be commenting on this, just because, like I said, I'm learning about this myself.
Me too.
As I'm going.
But this is also my point though, and it's to have your eyes and open to new things and to listen.
Right.
Because I'm not the type of person that will completely shut you down if you try to explain it to me.
Right.
But like, there's people like, you did what? You switched your what? It's like that's not natural. Like it's like to me, I'm like, science-wise, right now, you know, it's like, oh, that doesn't seem like that natural.
Well, if it helps
But then-
to convince you at all, I know that the World Health Organization just removed. I don't even know if this is the right term, transgenderism off the mental diseases list.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No, yeah, I'm not. I don't need to be convinced, but like, because what I believe, I believe before it was like transgender is real. Like, if you neurological wise, if you're like, I do believe I'm a woman, being a guy. Yeah, that's in your mind. But like, what I was going with, it was pure physical. Like what I was going for, you know, like.
Okay, so what you were talking about is sex.
Yeah, so that was my whole point. It's pure physical. Like, it has nothing to do with your brain. Like, if like, you know, like being gay.
Your
is
identity.
Not, being gay is not a choice. You're born that way. If you're born and you think that you're you know that you're a woman, then you know that's there. But like before, my argument was solely for physical. You know, like it was like that doesn't seem natural in that point.
Right.
So it was like, but then, you know, to the point going back of humanity, if you choose to listen and to try to evolve, your ideas change and in a positive way, and it helps you evolve as a human.
Right.
It helps you see other things, and if you don't shut those things out and you allow yourself to see it, then it allows you to see other things,
right,
that you didn't see before, and it's why a lot of the world is suffering. Going back now, that it's like we don't choose to see this because we don't live that life. We don't want to walk to those shoes. So now we want to do what benefits us, and what we believe it's right.
Right.
Which might not be beneficial for anybody else. That's going back to that. It's like me realizing that in a way and having conversations, you know, helps you see that.
Well, yeah, so I think, I swear to God I didn't fart, that was a chair.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that ultimately, right, so you had said something before about like regulation and how we have to make sure that there are rules in place that will protect people from like greed, right?
Yeah.
And greed is something that, I think greed is extremely natural, right? I think you have to be taught to be compassionate.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I don't, you know, at least in a very general sense, right? Like someone may see somebody a bit like in that moment, right? You have to like pick them up. But, you know, like when you're a little kid, and this is why I say this, right? So when someone's a child, you know, picture like a baby or something.
it's getting hot here now.
And it's getting a little warm. Think of like a baby or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that baby grabs something, if you don't tell that baby, hey, you can't grab that, that's not yours, right? They're just gonna keep doing it. They're gonna think it's okay. They're gonna keep acting on that basic impulse of taking something and then claiming it for themselves. That's greed.
Mm-hmm.
It's greed at a very, very, very
primitive way.
Exactly. And that goes back to what you had touched on, and essentially what I was alluding to is that there has to be a system that is in place that protects the people from greed. Because look, I'm of a mind that if you want to be a little rich, by all means, you want to have a little bit more than what you need, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Listen, man, like not everybody needs a boat, but some people really like sailing in the ocean, and like I think that you should be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, however, does that mean that I think that like they need 12 boats?
Yeah,
you know, like,
I mean,
there becomes a point where it's like very excessive, and I think that there needs to be a system that is in place where all the people can together decide, hey, look, this is what's good for all of us. This is how we can work together. This is how we can do this so that, you know, everybody, this is how we can function together as a community so that everybody has food on their table, so that everybody is educated, so that we all learn. We all progress. We all move forward. And when everybody moves, when one community moves forward, it's gonna help the other communities move forward as well. It'll set the example, and that is something that I think is really, really lacking. I mean, even in the United States, I think that's the case. We got into this point here where we think that we're the best. And I hate to say it, but we're not the best. And when we say we're the best, we're not giving ourselves the room to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really tragic, because like the rest of the American continent, this is probably the richest place to be.
Yeah.
You know, with the Amazons, the Caribbean, the North American continent, there's so much stuff, so many different cultures, so many different points of views, so many resources that it's totally plausible to think that we can all work together in one cohesive manner, you know, to move forward as a people, as a society. But if we keep giving in to these basic, primitive, infantile instincts, then there is no hope for us as a people, as a community, as a society. We have to put these things to rest. Enough is enough. There are people literally dying because of this. People that are starving.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand, but to be pessimistic, it's pretty easy to put the idea down. But like to even have the idea of like we coming as a community and making decisions for ourselves, there's always gonna be someone, that one, that is gonna be like, nah, but I want more.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
There's always going to be an issue.
Right, but that goes back to what you were saying. That's why we have to have these rules in place, because we know that there's going to be greedy people. So we have to know how to deal with these greedy people systematically. We have to.
I believe that if we break up the system of what is, you know, like the government, having a president, having like one person as the idea of one guy being a leader of 350 million people is the stupidest idea I ever heard in my life, to be completely honest. And it's just a little image. It's an image to be like, yeah, that's the leader of the country. I don't see that. If we always stay with that idea,
right,
there's always going to be issues.
Well,
now if we break that up completely, and we make sections of small communities that govern themselves, and
yeah, but you're talking about dismantling the idea of the United States, then, like, or you're talking about the dismantling of a nation,
every nation in a way, to be able, like, this is my opinion, this is my, you know, my thought. If we think that this system could progress and change to be beneficial completely to humanity, it's a very, very, very foolish idea.
See, like, I think that if we were talking about many thousands of years ago, that would probably make more sense. But there's too many people, we are too connected, there are too many things that